they get a brand new singer. Diamond Dave leaves in '85, and pretty much the original idea was to have a rotation of different singers. Like Eric Martin was rumored to be the singer at one point.
He would have been better.
Patty Smythe, I believe that's how you pronounce her last name.
Yeah,
she
right.
was rumored to be in the band.
I love Scandal.
Bill Collins was rumored to be in the band at one point or another. But, I mean,
I put my fan on purpose. So anyway, go on.
So they were very much thinking of going in a much different direction. So
I would have loved to hear Eric Martin with them.
Yeah, yeah. So
I like Eric Martin and Mr. Big. I'm good with that.
I like Eric Martin, period.
I know
you
you
should
do.
An Eric Martin, album. You don't know shit about.
Did you ever listen to Eric Martin's Mr. Vocalist albums from fucking Japan, where he's doing the Heart Will Go On, fucking Celine Dion fucking crap? He sucks solo.
I'll have to listen to it. But. All right, never mind.
But he's got a good band going on right now with freaking good guitar player.
I'm not going to believe you necessarily because I forget what you like that I don't like, but you like something that I don't like. And
I like Bon Jovi.
So that's why the fuck I'm saying this shit. But Eric Martin is better than Bon Jovi. If Eric Martin was in Bon Jovi, they wouldn't be as bad. But
wouldn't be Bon Jovi because Bon Jovi wouldn't be in the band.
Yeah, that's good. I want him out of the band. I want the whole band out. I want every single person to be the good people. Never mind. I'm being kind of a bitch. Please go on, Devin, and I will be kind of quiet.
You like the Bon Jovi album we reviewed?
You fucking asshole! Shut up! I don't want you to fucking say that.
Everybody teases you on that too. It's so awesome.
I mean, of course, I mean, one.
How could you hate it?
Good out of all of the boogers.
How could you?
But I don't like the album. I don't like the group in general. But yeah, they did one good album, so fuck off.
Okay, well let's move. Let's go on with this album here.
Please, I don't want my voice to blow out on me.
Eventually, Sammy Hagar, formerly of Montrose, and he was actually building a name for himself as a solo artist by that point. He was chosen as the lead vocalist to replace Diamond Dave. At the time, I don't really think it was that controversial. I think in more hindsight, a lot of people see it as either an improvement. I've seen some people say that it's better than the old stuff, and then a lot of people say it's terrible, and some people are just kind of in the middle and say, oh, I can hang with both versions of the band. It's just a kind of a different band. Listening more to this era in preparedness for this particular episode, I have to say I've kind of somewhat gained more of respect for this era. And this album, I went on record on my other show, the Dunnigan Mott Music and Movie Podcast, bashing this friggin' album. I didn't really like this album. I listened back to it, and I actually enjoy this album now. And this was actually produced by Mick Jones of Foreigner with, I believe, the band and Don Landy.
Yeah.
And I like this album. I'll have to say I like this album. Good Enough, I think, is a good opener for the album. I've always liked Why Can't This Be Love. Good Enough and Why Can't This Be Love, I've always enjoyed. Get Up, I can hang with now. Dreams, I grew a fondness toward that track. Summer Nights is fine. Best of Both Worlds, at first, I really liked, then I started hating it when I reviewed the album. But now I can kind of hang with it as well. It reminds me a lot of Robert Palmer. Love Walks In, I've always loved. Well, actually, I didn't like the first time I heard it, but then I grew to love this track, love the title track, and Inside's kind of a mess, but now I can kind of hang with it. So I guess I can say I like the album. I like that track for what it is, and I view this album as kind of 1984 Part 2. because I think this whole album's kind of trying to be that album once again. With, like, to me, Dreams is another. It's a blatant attempt at a jump. Love Walks In is a blatant attempt at I'll Wait Again. This whole album just reminds me a lot of 1984, but I enjoy it for what it is. 5 singles released off the album. Why Can't This Be Love backed with Get Up, Dreams backed with Inside, Love Walks In backed with Summer Nights, and Best of Both Worlds and Summer Nights released as singles. I enjoy this album now. So that's pretty much all I have to say. So who went first last time?
Me.
Okay.
I have no idea. All I know is that you sometimes have interesting timing. When I have stuff I'm eager to say, you pick him first. And then when I have nothing to say, you pick me first.
Okay.
That's the Southern way of doing it. But hey, maybe I should be in the South. That way, instead of walking forwards, I'm walking backwards. I'm sorry. I'm kind of drinking and I'm kind of in a bitchy mood, but in a good bitch. So you pick whoever you want.
Okay, so I believe Mark went last. So Lee, you go first this time.
Okay, well, I will say first off, at the time that this album came out, the idea of Sammy Hagar on an album with the group was like if you had a sandwich and there was an extra special topping on it, like a hot sauce or something really tasty. He was going to provide the tasty bit. He was the guy who people were hoping would put the extra oomph on the music sandwich. And I was excited when they said he was going to be in Van Halen. When I got 5150, I told myself I can't fucking wait to hear what they do. They're going to be fucking awesome. And then I heard, hey, baby. And then I heard Good Enough and I went, what the fuck? I was like, it's not horrible, but I thought, this is, shit. In fact, my band member, he unfortunately died, and I'm sorry that happened, Dale. But he did a song with us before that, and he went, baby! And he did a fucking good job of that. That was on one of our songs. And you don't hear that song because we only recorded it on cassette. But I mean, we did 6 CDs, which we gave to very personal friends, but that's it. But anyway, the thing is, I thought, oh my God. And then I heard Love Walks In, or no, How Can This Be Love? I went, what is this? And then I heard the third song, is it Stand Up or whatever the fuck it is? I forget the name of it, but it's like, yeah. Paul McCartney and Wings does a song on Back to the Egg. Their third song is Spin It On. It sounds almost exactly like that, except it was years earlier, and it was much better. I was like, what is Van Halen doing? And then I heard Dreams. I was like, oh, fuck this piece of shit. My brother Steve, who's a good guitarist, said it was the best solo that Eddie Van Halen did. I don't know what he was smoking, and he was straight at that time he said it. And then the third song, Summer Nights, I guess Summer Nights I kind of thought was okay. It was at least its own thing. It was before Y&T, I think. I think that they at least had a decent sound. And then Best of Both Worlds was all right. It was not great, but I kind of liked it. And then whatever the next song was, Love Walks In. Oh God, what a piece of shitty fucking tour that was. And then the song 5150. At best, it sounded like a very, very lame Edgar Winter song. But at least they tried. And then the song Outside or Inside or whatever the song is, that was probably the best song on the album because it was just messing around. But I tell myself this is definitely a disappointment. Now, I would say now when I hear it, Good Enough is all right, and so is Get Up, and those would be the only two songs that I give any kind of good thumbs up to. I'm done.
Okay. So, Mark, what is your thoughts on 5150? I almost moved
Well,
on to
I was a huge Sammy Hagar fan before this album came out. I loved VOA. I love that album. I Can't Drive 55, Dick in the Dirt. The title track VOA was like freaking awesome to me. And I was go, oh fuck, Sammy's going to be in there. And I wasn't really that huge David Lee Roth fan, Van Halen back then, so I was happy to see this happen. I remember I got the tape, took it to school, and people were saying, "Fuck this shit." Fucking the fights have been going on since this fucking album came out, and I like it. I love fucking Good Enough. I love the Hello Baby. I love Why Can't This Be Love. I love Get Up, Make It Work, and like I like how he puts a little jab into David. I went out and brought some brand new shoes. Now I walk like someone else. Hi. Fucking Dreams is a fucking great ballad, great song. Remember the video? They didn't make videos for this album. They just used the freaking Blue Angels on this, and it was so beautiful. Summer Nights is a fucking party song. I heard this song was around during the Roth era, so freaking great track. Best of Both Worlds. I love it. Fucking, I love the 5150 dance. I have Live Without a Net on DVD. Love this album. Love Walks In. Fucking Aliens. Fucking great song. Love it. 5150 rules. And Inside is a great ending track for this album. I give this song a 10 out of 10. This album. I'm sorry. But I always said David Lee Roth is Van Halen, but this album is not bad. It's not great, but it's fucking awesome. Okay.
I'm going to be a bitch in what I say when we get to the next album. And you're not going to like what I say, but it's going to be all right.
Okay. So, well, you said that Summer Nights, I believe it was a song back around the time of, the latter part of the Roth era after 84 came out and everything. I would like to hear that version, if it even actually exists in physical form. Have you guys heard the bonus track?
What's that?
I Want Action?
No. I was trying to look
track.
for. Oh, I was trying to look
was it
for
Japanese?
That. It's actually never been on an official album.
Oh, okay.
What it was an outtake, and supposedly they dropped it at last minute because of Inside or something like that. I've read that it was supposed to be on the album as the last track, and then I've also heard that it was supposed to be in place of Inside. It was supposed to be part of the album with Inside on it. I've also heard that it was just never finished. I don't really know. It surfaced with like the 5150 demos that came out. They kind of surfaced a few years back, and I think they're basically instrumentals pretty much.
I'll have to look at that, especially if they're instrumentals.
It basically turned into another song coming up. We'll talk about Dirty Water Dog. So,
all right.
It turned into that. But overall, like I said, I enjoy this album, and I had one more thing to talk about. Oh, another track that was an outtake from this album that actually made it to a Sammy Hagar solo album was Eagles Fly. Eagles Fly was originally supposed to be on here, was brought to the band to be on here, but didn't, basically because Eddie Van Halen said it was kind of too folkish. So,
are you thinking of Eagles Fly or When Flamingos Fly?
Well, they actually did the Eagles Fly in concert with Van Halen a lot.
Because
so.
Flamingos Fly was like a weird Van Morrison song.
yeah.
That he did on 7 to a 10 scale or whatever that album was. And so I didn't mean to confuse it, but I guess it's not Where Eagles Dare by Iron Maiden by any extent of the
Eagles Fly was
imagination.
on his self-titled album, Sammy Hagar. And then because of an MTV contest, they said name the album, so it changed to I Never Said Goodbye.
Yeah.
Oh,
I have the original vinyl with just labeled Sammy Hagar. So
yeah,
that's
I was
cool.
going to talk about that to kind of bridge to the next album, but because it does have a Van Halen, it connects because Eddie Van Halen plays bass on it. But I guess since you mentioned that, I Never Said Goodbye, I've heard some songs off of that, and the only reason I'm going to talk about it as part of the Van Halen discography is because it's got Eddie Van Halen on bass. But I'm just going to kind of breeze through it. I know Eagles Fly, Give to Live, I've always enjoyed. Other than that, I don't really know much about the album other than like the name change and everything. I remembered that. But we
The
move
only
on.
thing that I want to say is that the cover looked interesting where he's in the air jumping. And that's all I want to say about that album.
Okay. So then we move to OU812, 1988. I feel like I'm forgetting something on 5150. If I remember it, I'll say something about it as we go through the video, through the review. But first, I do know what I want to say. I want to just take a second and talk about the Live Without a Net video, Van Halen's first concert video. I've never seen it in its entirety, but the video clips that I have seen, it's a pretty cool show. New Halen instead of New Haven.
yeah.
And originally they were going to record both nights, but wound up recording the second night. I would actually love to see a more complete version because there is a lot of tracks that didn't make the final cut of the concert. I would love to see an original version. It's been bootlegged to all heck with different outtakes like Good Enough Live. It's out there on YouTube. All kinds of stuff. Rock and Roll, of course, made it to the video. It's a great version of the Led Zeppelin track. I'm trying to think about what else is on there that's out there. Bootleg. You've got the complete version of Best of Both Worlds with the Addicted to Love snippet at the end of it that was like only broadcast on the MTV Music Awards or something like that. And just a pretty good concert from the clips I've seen. And what's your thoughts on this, Mark?
Oh, I love it. I have the whole DVD. I had it on VHS at the time, and then I saw they upgraded the DVD. Maybe they'll do a Blu-ray version of it and put all those songs in there. But I don't know because it wasn't recorded in high def. But it's a really great concert. I love it. I've had it since it came out, and I've upgraded since to DVD. It's really good. I love it. I love it how you get spray paint shoes, and people throwing up bras and shit on the stage. It's really fucking cool.
Yeah. And then there's also the other outtake. They did a cover of Wild Thing. And I think that was a pretty much a staple for the tour and stuff. And that kind of... Go ahead.
I like it when Sammy goes up into the scaffolding and ain't talking about love. He says, I can lose my ass up here.
Uh-huh.
Fucking cool.
And that was also, that kind of bridges what I was fixing to talk about. The lack of Roth songs during the tours for the Van Hagar album. He pretty much threw all the classic Van Halen stuff out other than Ain't Talking About Love, Panama, and You Really Got Me, which is it's technically a Roth era song, but still it's categorized as a cover. And then they also pulled out Running with the Devil here and there, as well as Unchained later on.
At least Sammy did Roth songs.
Yeah.
Well, Gary Sharon did both, but frickin' Roth hasn't done shit. So
Yeah. So I guess that we can go ahead and move on to 1988's OU812. Lee, have you actually ever seen the Live Without a Net video?
I was hoping that you were going to pass me by because I was going to say I have nothing to say about it.
Okay. All right.
I mean, I technically could say that I've seen a little bit of it, and okay, whatever. Not horrible, not great. That's all I want to say.
Okay. So we moved to 1988, OU812. All these albums, is kind of weird that they feed back to the different camps of the Roth camp and the Van Halen camps. So 5150 means basically it's police jargon for a mentally disturbed person. So Crazy from the Heat, you got 5150. Eat 'em a Smile, you got OU812. And then
you saw that Eddie Trunk thing where the guy said that, right? Never mind. Maybe you're the guy who said it. I'm sorry.
No,
I'll be quiet.
But
yeah.
First of this podcast, actually.
Yeah, but you're astute. But anyway, please go on.
That's an in joke on the other podcast. I always say as a transition, and I can't stand it listening back to it.
I say too much, and I have to stop.
It doesn't bother me when someone else says it. It's just when I'm listening to myself say it, I'm like, oh my God, this is freaking cringy.
I don't listen to myself.
I hear myself, and I'm on a podcast, and I go, I think this song it is really good. And I go, what the fuck, Lee? I'm sounding like Barney Rubble. Betty. I mean, Wilma, you're better looking. I'm so sorry, Fred. You know, I sound like Fred Flintstone at his worst dummy moment. Fuck, man. Anyway, I'm gonna shut up now. Please don't worry about what I just said.
And just continuing on, like with the For Unlawful Carnal Knowledge, of course, the abbreviation that it stands for later was Your Filthy Little Mouth with Diamond Date.
Oh, wow, man. I didn't see that.
So getting on with OU812, this is probably the one I've heard the most out of the Van Hagar discography. I've heard this one a bunch. Mine on Mine, I like it, but I think something's missing. It seems like something I would really, really enjoy and would be one of my favorites on the album, but it's one I think it's okay. I think it goes over a lot better live. And this whole album, I think they dropped the glossiness of 5150 and try to kind of take it back to the more stripped down classic sounding version of Van Halen, something more akin to the Roth era. And whether they won or lost with what they were trying to do, that's kind of your own opinion. I've seen some people who love the Van Hagar era and hate this album because they hate the way it sounds, says that it sounds a little bit too forced. But When It's Love, I've always loved it. Kind of I'll Wait Part 2 to me. AFU, Naturally Wired, I've always liked it. Cabo Wabo is very Zeppelinish. I cannot speak. Very Zeppelin-esque type track. Source of Infection, I think is a rocking song. The lyrics are kind of whatever in a way, but I still enjoy it. I've always loved Feel So Good, that organ. I love the melody of it. Great melody. And Finish What You Started, it's pretty cool. Kind of a country-ish type song. Black and Blue, love it. Classic Van Halen to me. Probably my favorite track on the album. Sucker in a Three-Piece, filler. It's whatever. Apolitical Blues, I actually love. I think it's one of the better songs on the album, at least for me. And that's a cover, I believe, by Steppenwolf, if I'm not bad wrong. So
you are wrong, but it's okay.
Okay. So, Lee, you done it last time.
Yeah, when I said I had something really bad to say, that wasn't actually about this album.
It
So I
was actually a little.
apologize.
It was actually a Little Feat song.
Yes,
Okay,
but
that's
that
it.
but
Little
that's
feet. Little feet.
yes,
That's it.
that wasn't the bad thing. There's not that it's anything bad, but I was thinking about the next album in which what I say might not necessarily, well, not bad. It's just it's not. Anyway, this album, I actually thought this was a big improvement over 5150. The song Cabo Wabo, the last song,
Sorry.
or one of the songs on the album. Have you ever heard Make It Last by
Yeah.
Montrose?
I
Yes.
Written
just read that, and I was just said
written
I'll
in
never put that
first
together. That's
by
cool.
Sammy Hagar. I'm pretty damn sure he wrote this whole song, or they just decided to redo it. That it's a great song, and Source of Affection is fucking wonderful. And there's a couple of songs I don't love, but I think this is the closest to a Sammy Hagar Montrose album combined with a David Lee Roth era album without David Lee Roth that you're going to get in their career. I think that this is one of the best albums that Sammy has done with Van Halen. And the song Cabo Wabo and Source of Affection and Finish What You Started are the three standout tracks. And I also love, as a honorable mention, Mine All Mine.
Okay.
All right.
And there was three tracks released as singles: Black and Blue, When It's Love, and Finish What You Started. I believe only the latter two had videos. I've seen the Finish What You Started and When It's Love video, so I'm assuming that's the only two that received videos. It was also produced by Don Landy.
Yeah.
And you said you talking about the Make It Last. Now that I think about it, I can
Feel so
totally.
Feel So Good had a video too.
Okay, yeah, that's it too. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
And there's another. I enjoy this album, as I said, and the Make It Last thing. Just, I mean, that blew my mind when you was talking about it. When I just seen it actually too. So, Mark, what's your thoughts on OU812? I know you guys reviewed this album on the Freeform Rock podcast. So,
And
what's
I
your thoughts
reviewed
on
it
this
on
album?
my own YouTube channel too.
And
Okay.
Bushy was on this album, or double shot he did, and Women and Children First, and this one. And Bushy loved this album more than Women and Children First.
Ah.
So plug if you guys want to go check out our episodes with Bushy,
Oh.
from the Plug podcast. Mine Oh Mine's a fucking great opener. I love it. I love freaking the lyrics. When It's Love is fucking amazing. Naturally Wired, freaking Alex Van Halen on this album is sounding like Alex Van Halen. He's fucking going off. Cabo Wabo is a great kickback drinking song. Get that worm, man. Drink that bottle down to the bottom. Source of Infection. I love Sammy's tone on that. Feels So Good is a good kickback song. Finish What You Started was Valerie Bertinelli's favorite song off this album. I remember her in an interview, so she loved that song.
Cool.
I think that's one of Wolfie's favorite songs too. This is one of Wolfie's favorite albums too. This one, and I think Balance Wolf likes better than the Fuck album. Black and Blue is the first single off this album. I bought the cassette single before the album came out, and I just love this song. And the B side was Apolitical Blues, which wasn't available in the cassette or the vinyl pressings. But I had it on CD, and it ends with a great song. He said it was Fuller. I love Sucker in a 3-piece. I love the lyrics. She wants a sugar daddy, sugar mama. I love that shit. It's fucking pretty cool. And Apolitical Blues, never felt it.
Devin, have you ever heard the original by Little Feat?
I have actually. I did listen to the original version. It's kind of the same song, pretty much, from what
Do
I
you like
remember of it.
do you like it about just as much?
I kind of like the Van Halen version a little bit better.
Oh boy, and I agree to be on this review with you. Well, I won't back down now.
So, if you guys are done with OU812, I guess we'll move on to the next album for
Yeah, Led
Unlawful.
Zeppelin 2. Yay!
For Unlawful.
No, Led Zeppelin 3. Lee loves that album.
Oh God, no!
For Unlawful.
We haven't
Carnal
done a
Knowledge.
we haven't done a review on Zeppelin 2 on Zeppelin 3 yet because Lee keeps fighting me on it.
Zeppelin 2, fine. Led Zeppelin 3, no.
Okay. Go
Sorry.
ahead. Sorry.
So, for Unlawful Carnal Knowledge, other known as the F word, pretty much. And just before we move in, have you seen the Japanese show from '89, Mark?
No.
You haven't? From OU8122?
No, I haven't seen it.
It's really good. I checked it out. It's pretty much, I think that it's like they play Summer Nights, 5150, a bunch of the hits from the previous, from that album, OU812, as well as like I Can't Drive 55 and stuff like that. But
All
getting
the shit.
on, yeah.
I'm going.
But getting on with For Unlawful Carnal Knowledge, this is kind of perceived as a return to form and a comeback album for the band by many that kind of basically jumped ship after 5150, brought in keyboards. This one is widely carried as the best Van Hagar album.
Oh boy.
I'm not going to say I agree with that because I kind of think maybe 5150 is probably the best Van Hagar album, or either OU812 as well, maybe. But this lost Don Landy as the producer. They brought in Andy Johns originally and then brought in Ted Templeman later, if I'm not bad wrong, because this is where the bad blood started to really come out. And there were a total of 3 singles released from the album: Pound Cake, Top of the World, and Right Now. Of course, I know Right Now and Pound Cake had videos, and I believe as well Runaround had a video for it.
Yeah, with them on the moving stage.
Yeah, that's it.
That was
yeah.
a great video.
So,
Top of the World also had one too.
Yeah. So, I listened to this album prior to recording this. The last time I listened to it, I barely got through it. I think the album picks up at Runaround, and
I will say I like the video and the song to that. But anyway, go on.
I think the first 3 tracks, I've always enjoyed Pound Cake for what it was. Judgment Day is great. Spanked, I enjoy it, but it's kind of a fillerish track, even though it was performed live, so technically it's not filler. Love Runaround, love Pleasure Dome. In and Out, really enjoy that. Man on a Mission, I really like as well. I don't like the little oohs and ahs throughout that one. The Dream Is Over, I like the verses. The chorus to me just comes in out of nowhere and just doesn't match the song, but I can hang with it. Right Now, I've always really enjoyed. Probably Van Hagar's most well-known song, probably in the mainstream public eye. 316's a good short little instrumental, the return of the Eddie Van Halen instrumental. And then we end the album with Jump Part 2, except without the keyboards. Top of the World, which took the ending riff of Jump and implied it to, or included it in a song. You've got also Steve Lukather with the 4 Van Halen members singing backing vocals on Top of the World. Does it hold up? I mean, that's your opinion. Mark,
I respect that. But anyway, go on.
Mark, what do you think of For Unlawful Carnal Knowledge?
I think it's fucking amazing. Fucking best song Van Halen ever did with Sammy is Judgment Day. Fucking great song. Pound Cake is a fun little track. I know Sammy gets made fun of because he writes a lot of songs about food. Spanked is cool. Call her up on the spank line. I love fucking here we go round, 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 round. I love it. I love Pleasure Dome. Fucking great drum intro by Alex. Fucking in and out. It's fucking they got you going in, they got you going out. Same amount. Talking about debt. In and out. I love Man on a Mission. And I disagree with you about the chorus. I love the chorus, man. I just love how his voice goes, dream another dream. This dream is over. I love it. Fucking great track. So, and then we get to Right Now, which is fucking awesome. Remember the Crystal Pepsi commercial for that? I don't know if you're old enough to remember that.
I've seen.
Crappy soda. They brought it back, and I was wondering if they're going to bring back the song too. The commercial. But that was a cool song. And then 316, which was Wolfie's birthday, March 16th. And then Top of the World, great ending track, fucking great fun song. Love this album.
Okay. And 316 also came from the 5150 tour because it was played. It was played as part of the solo on that tour. So just an interesting little tidbit as well. And I didn't talk about the singles, what the B-sides to the singles. I don't see one for Top of the World, but the B-sides for Pound Cake was Pleasure Dome, and the B-side for Right Now was Man on a Mission. Lee, what's your thoughts on For Unlawful Carnal Knowledge?
Okay, I don't know what you would think. What you think about what I'm going to say. This is my complete and total review. I like Pound Cake.
Of course you do. You want to pound that cake.
Period.
Okay.
So we're gonna have to do a review of this album now, Lee.
Yeah, you fucking asshole! No way.
Gonna have to.
Shut up.
This will be a great argument.
You need to hear what I have to say about this. You want to hear me yell at you?
Yes, because that's fun.
Fuck you, asshole. Fuck you, and the boat that you can't even go in because you ate too much donuts and the tub is too small.
I wish I had some donuts. I want a Bear Claw. That's fucking good.
Fuck that shit, man.
We have Donut Man here. You get like some strawberry donuts, some peach donuts, some Bear Claw, some Tiger Tails.
Yeah, whatever the fuck. You have them up your nose.
With a rubber hose.
I have them up my nose.
With a rubber hose. Okay, go ahead. Sorry, Devin.
So are you guys done with For Unlawful Carnal Knowledge?
Oh, I know Lee is done. I'm more than fucking done with that.
So then we move to 1993. Live right here, right now. Finally, after all this time, a Van Halen live album. But the question is it really a live album? Sammy Hagar has came in and said it was not. He said basically the whole album was re-recorded. I looked at the set lists for the shows. I actually went on Spotify and resequenced the album and, of course, took the songs that weren't in the shows out and resequenced it to where it matched up with the shows. There are some songs on here that was never performed on either night of the two shows at Fresno, California. And Sammy Hagar says basically Eddie and Alex went in and tried to fix everything. And I believe this was produced by Andy Johns. Yeah, I'm right. Andy Johns and Van Halen. And yeah. I've always enjoyed this live album for what it is. It's a pretty good live album. The solos are awesome throughout the album. I love the version of Ain't Talking About Love. I think Sammy does a good job on there. I just hate when he screams, "Oh yeah," but prior to getting into the chorus of the song. I really didn't like that, but I still think that's one of the better live tracks. In and Out's good on the live album. They play basically most of For Unlawful Carnal Knowledge except for The Dream Is Over, but it's actually on the video. One Way to Rock's great on here. Give to Live is a really good version. Love the version of Finish What You Started. You Really Got Me In. The Cabo Wabo is really cool. Won't Get Fooled Again. I've always really liked that cover. And Won't Get Fooled Again. Love Walks In. they were not performed during that night. Neither was Ain't Talking About Love. That was not performed during that night. But I think majority of the rest of the album was. There was other songs, Eagles Fly and Mine All Mine, that were part of the Jump single. And I saw that for really cheap. I'm thinking about getting it just to have those 2 extra tracks. And this also was the return of Jump live, because they hadn't performed Jump other than letting the audience sing it since Sammy had joined the band. So Sammy started singing Jump during this time. And I think it's a good live album. It's a 2-disc. I mean, it's a long live album. The production's fine. It's a little bit off. I don't think it captures that full sound. I think the only thing with me with the production, I think it's a little bit kind of a dry production with the audience noise and everything. But I can still hang with it. I think it's a good live album. So, Lee, have you actually ever heard this live album?
I never really heard much of it, except for some of the audience noise, and I thought that was good. I thought that it drowned out the music and it made a very good album.
Okay. So, and I think the audience noise does to an extent drown out the audience. And let me.
Yeah, I like it better. I like the audience noise better than the music. The little 10 or 20 seconds I heard of it.
And this went number 5, and the 2 singles released from the album were Won't Get Fooled Again and Dreams. And this album was certified 2 times platinum. And the DVD released from it was compiled from the 2 nights. And that's pretty cool as well. Just the only thing with me, I'm questioning if some of these tracks were just covers they played in the studio or what it was. So, Mark, what's your thoughts on Live Right Here, Right Now?
Well, if you go back and look, Kiss the live albums weren't live.
Oh, no, that's the reason I'm saying it's not 100% live.
Yeah, but no live album is 100% live unless you go when we get to the David Lee Roth one. It's a great live album. It's a great live video. I don't have it, and this is one thing I want to pick up. I want to get the DVDs and the CDs, so I want to pick it up. I like it a lot. I've seen it a lot. I watch it on MTV. I watch it on videos on YouTube. Really great live album.
Okay.
I like it.
All right.
Oh, goody.
Goody gumdrops.
Yeah, I wrote a song, Goody Gumdrops, doing Goody Gumdrops. You left me here on my own, and now all I can do is moan. But that's all I can remember of it.
Okay, so then we move to Balance. 1995, recorded 94 with Bruce Fairbairn. Of course, known for producing big hit albums for Aerosmith, bringing Aerosmith back with Permanent Vacation, bringing AC/DC back, and then producing Kiss's Psycho Circus. And the reason I didn't say that was a hit because it wasn't a hit. It was pretty much a under expectations album, if that makes any sense. Or it sold way under expectations and just wasn't what people wanted. But I've always kind of liked this album. I think there's some good stuff on this album. It says here that the track Strung Out was recorded all the way back in 83, which I did not know. So that's very interesting. 5 singles released from this album. Don't Tell Me What Love Can Do is the second one. The Seventh Seal being the first. Can't Stop Loving You, number 3. Not Enough, number 4. And Amsterdam, number 5. I think most of these, I know Can't Stop Loving You, Don't Tell Me What Love Can Do, and Amsterdam all had videos. I don't know if any of the other ones have. I don't think they did. But this was where the band was kind of, speaking of balance, they had become well over unbalanced at this point in time. They had swapped management. Ed Loeffler, their manager, when Sammy was first in the band, he had passed away, I believe, by this point, or was kind of headed downhill. I believe he had already passed away, and they brought in Ray Daniels.
Rush's manager, I think he ruined the band.
Yeah.
Just my opinion.
But just going through the tracks real quick. Seventh Seal, I enjoy it. Can't Stop Loving You, I like it, but it's kind of eh. I like it though. Don't Tell Me What Love Can Do, really good song. Amsterdam, I've always really enjoyed that track. Very 80s rock sounding. Big Fat Money, kind of, I enjoy it, but it's kind of eh. It's kind of filler to me more than anything else. Strung Out, like it was recorded in '83, so it says. I like it when they kind of bring the strings and stuff in. It's a very interesting instrumental, so I'm kind of it's pretty good. Not Enough, best song on the album.
Oh God.
Aftershock, I think it's really cool. It kind of gives me an R&B type vibe. Doing Time is an Alex Van Halen drum solo type deal. I can hang with it. Baluchatherium, I believe is how you pronounce it. I can hang with it. It's kind of a fillerish track to me. Take Me Back, Deja Vu. The main riff was actually written pre Van Halen 1. So, and it's out there, I believe. Let me see what the name of it is real quick. I just saw it earlier. It's a song called No More Waiting. I remembered that. And then Feelings, a good bluesier kind of song. And Crossing Over, I heard once. It's kind of eh, but I can kind of hang. There's 2 concerts recorded from this tour: the Pensacola show and the Toronto show. And the Toronto show, there were talks of releasing it later, I believe around the time of the 2004 reunion, which we'll get to momentarily, but it never happened. And it's out there on YouTube. You can see both shows. So, what's your thoughts, Lee? What do you think?
Yeah, Not Enough is a horrible song. Why the fuck do you like it? And and the song Passing Over is one of the better songs. Damn it. But other than that, I'm gonna say I was not really a
Passing
big fan
Over
of this song. Passing Over or
Crossing Over?
Passing Gas, Crossing Gas, what the fuck?
Well, Crossing Over was a Japanese bonus track.
Well,
yeah.
That's what the fuck ever. That's the song I mean. Anyway, I like it now. I used to not like some of the songs, but I mean, I still don't like Not Enough. I mean, the words are interesting, but the song with the over, whether it's crossing or whatever the fuck you say it is, and I don't like it when people fucking correct me, but you have to if you have to. Anyway, that's an okay song, but I mean, I like most of it. I think that Big Fat Money is all right. I would say probably the Seven Seal isn't really my favorite song, but it's probably one of the best songs on it, if that makes sense. So that's all I have to say about that.
Okay. And this was recorded at 5150 Studios, except for 5 lead vocals. It says here recorded where Bruce Fairburn resided. And to be fair about the bonus track, I listened to a part of it and it really didn't grab me. So
yeah,
I need to go revisit.
Yeah, you do, because it's the best song on there.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Mark,
I'm being a bitch, but that's because this has been going on a long time, and eventually I start to wear out and I become my real self.
So, Mark, what's your thoughts on Balance?
It's a fucking great album. Seven Seal, I love the freaking Can't Stop Loving You is a fucking great ballad. Don't Tell Me What Love Could Do, that riff. Dun, 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 dun. I love freaking Sammy's freaking vocals, man. When he says heroin, I fucking just He's got so much soul, man. Fucking Sammy doesn't get enough credit with his freaking vocal tones. They just say he sounds like scratching glass, the people who hate him. Amsterdam, fucking, I saw this tour at the LA Forum. Collective Soul opened for them. They were amazing. Sammy, they put up the video for Amsterdam while they were playing. It's freaking cool. Wham, bam, Amsterdam, stone you like no one else can, smoking some ganja. Big Fat Money is cool. Strung Out, I like. Not Enough is really good. Aftershock's my favorite song off this album. Doing Time's good. Bitchawama is okay. It was omitted from the LP during time constraints. Take Me Back, Deja Vu, I like. I like Feeling, and then Crossing Over is a really cool track too.
Okay. And I was also I didn't even talk about it, but the Amsterdam, Eddie Van Halen has said that he really doesn't like the lyrics of the song.
Yeah, it's juvenile, but it's like wham bam Amsterdam, stone you like no one else can. And I haven't heard this album in like a year. Freaking, I still remember it because that's a great song. I like it. It's fun. You can't write lyrics like Neil Peart all the time, you know?
Yeah, not even he could do it. Bob Dylan could.
Bob Dylan's a great lyricist. I like a lot of his stuff, but I like it when other people sing his stuff better.
Yeah, but I mean, lyrically, he's the best.
Oh, lyrically, he's no. I Neil Peart beats Bob Dylan.
Lyrically, Bob Dylan is the best.
Lyrically, Neil Peart's lyrics.
No. He only does like Robert E. Heinlein kind of copy.
Okay, for you, it's Bob Dylan.
Oh no, yes, for me, it's Bob Dylan, and he's the best. He's the best. No,
for me, it's Neil Peart.
Okay, what?
Because his lyrics speak to me more than Bob Dylan.
Stop trying to defend yourself. You don't need to defend yourself with a bitch.
All right.
I'm sorry. I'm kidding. No. Actually, I had the Rush songbook, and I used to look at those lyrics. So he was nice.
It's just the age. It's just the stage. We disengage. We turn the page.
What song was that again?
Turn the page.
From what album?
The Red Album. I'm fucking a little drunk right now.
You mean the Hold Your Fire?
Hold Your Fire, yeah.
Okay. Well, okay. I'll say thumbs up to you for that one.
And spirits fly on dangerous missions. Imaginations are on fire. Focused high on higher ambitions, consumed with a single desire.
You made your point.
In the grip of a nameless possession.
You made your point.
A slave to the drive of obsession. A spirit with a vision is a dream with a mission. Okay, go ahead. Those lyrics just flow, man. The poetry.
But they're like science fiction shit.
That's not science fiction. It's talking about spirits, your soul, dude. It's talking about your soul.
God.
Subdivisions in the high school.
You don't know nothing about nothing.
Be fool or be cast out.
You don't know shit. You don't know fucking shit. You don't know shit. I'm sorry. No, you're right. You're right. Peanut butter, jelly, peanut butter. Okay, I'm sorry.
Like a rolling stone.
Yeah. Well, that's not his best music.
I'm not knocking on heaven's door. Wow. Okay.
I don't like the music to those, but I like the lyrics.
I said he's a great lyricist, but Neil Peart beats him. Sorry.
Oh God. What the fuck ever. All right. I'll be quiet only because my voice has to rest for a bit.
Okay. Sorry, Devin.
Okay, it's fine. Okay. Then we moved to 1996, the album that broke the band up, pretty much. It's said that the Twister soundtrack broke the band up, but it's actually Sammy Hagar has said that it's this album that broke the band up. Best of Volume 1, their very first compilation. 3 singles released from this album. Humans Being, which was on the Twister soundtrack, along with another track, Respect the Wind, which was an Alex and Eddie Van Halen collaboration. Me Wise Magic and Can't Get This Stuff No More. Around this time, Hagar eventually, he was out of the band. He left. And basically he didn't feel that the band should put out a greatest hits compilation, and the band being pretty much run by Eddie and Alex, they felt the band should put out a greatest hits compilation. And what I actually heard a big deal was that the band wanted to record 2 new songs with David Lee Roth and 2 new songs with Sammy, and Sammy just wasn't having it. And so eventually he had already became fed up because Ray Daniels basically told Eddie to run the band, that it was his band, he needed to run it. And so Sammy basically he was out of the band. And then they actually got another guy to be in the band around this point, but I'll talk about that when we get more into Van Halen 3 next. But I think it's a good compilation. It covers all the grounds. It pretty much it puts out the best of each album, at least in my opinion, at least the best known songs. The only album that's not represented is actually the Diver Down album. There's no tracks off of that album on
Eddie
here.
hated that album.
Yeah. And no tracks from the live album, which is a live album. They're going through the studio catalog. And Hot for Teacher was actually featured in the Japanese version, and Running with the Devil originally had an alternate mix. It was like the solo came in at a different point or something like that. It was weird.
Huh.
And the 2 new tracks, Me Wise Magic and Can't Get This Stuff No More, I love it. I think they're both great tracks. Can't Get This Stuff No More was a track left over from Balance, is what I've always heard. Great track. I love both of those tracks. Humans Being is a great track. One of my favorite, probably my favorite Van Hagar song, which kind of probably seems weird and sacrilege, but
Which one?
I really enjoy it. I think it's a great compilation.
Which song was that was your favorite? Great. I forget what you said.
Humans Being.
Okay.
And the 2 tracks are great. Humans Being is awesome. So, Mark, what's your thoughts on Best of Volume 1?
I think it's cool. I like it. I like the 2 David Lee Roth songs, and David at the time thought he was back in the band until he fucked up at the MTV Awards and fucking pissed off Eddie, and he was gone again.
Yep.
So, so David's mouth always gets him in trouble. But I think it's pretty cool. I like the 2 new songs, and if we get to the Greatest Hits album with what they did with the 4 new tracks that Eddie before the 2004 tour, I like a lot of those songs too. All right.
Okay. Lee, what's your thoughts on the compilation?
I thought it was kind of cool. I mean, I didn't have to hear every single song in order. It's like I could imagine with all the songs, and yeah, I mean, maybe it's not perfect. Just like Aerosmith's Greatest Hits wasn't perfect. They had a couple of songs that I could have left out, but with Me Wise Magic and the other one, it was something to look forward to, and I like those songs.
Okay. All right. Well, then we move to 1998. We're starting to kind of get to the final parts of the Van Halen discography now. We're getting into the late 90s, and then we're going to get into the 2000s here in a few minutes. Van Halen 3. Probably one of the band's most controversial albums, and probably most negatively received albums. Originally, around the time of the Greatest Hits, when they brought David Lee Roth back, which I've actually heard that the only reason Roth went to the BMAs is because they wanted that reunion to kind of hype things up. And that's what Mitch Malloy said. And Mitch Malloy was originally hired to replace Sammy Hagar. They got a relatively unknown musician, and pretty much he didn't work out. There's a song that surfaced with the guy on vocals. It's The Right Time, I believe it's what it's called. It's an interesting song. And then there's a version of Panama with him singing on vocals, which I think is actually a very good version of the song. I think that he had some good vocals. Mark, have you heard those songs?
No.
Okay. But he was hired. They call him like Van Halen's lost boy, but he was in the band. He was hired to replace Sammy Hagar, but after Roth came in, he was kind of out. And then they brought Gary Sharon of Extreme in, and that was basically because Ray Daniels had managed Extreme, if I'm not bad wrong, and then he managed Gary Sharon and then brought Gary Sharon to Van Halen. And they put out this album, and the producer is Mike Post, and he's mainly known for television stuff. So this is kind of an early situation with that. Like later on, like a lot of people were hiring music video directors to direct movies. In this case, they hired someone who was more for compositions and production and TV work for a pretty big studio album, especially with this being the first with a brand new vocalist since 1986's 5150. So it's Van Halen 3, 1998, the first and only album with Gary Sharon on lead vocals. Featured minimal involvement from Michael Anthony, and it's also been said that Alex Van Halen didn't have a whole lot to do with this album. I actually read that Eddie Van Halen played a lot of drums on this album as well.
Would you believe that he was kind of a drummer, and when I saw them live, he did play some drums?
Okay.
Well, Alex Van Halen originally played guitar, and Eddie played drums.
Yeah.
And Eddie came home one day and saw Alex playing his drums. He said, "Well, I'm going to take your guitar." And Alex said, "Well, you're better at that than drums. I'm going to play your drums. You keep the guitar."
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So this album has always kind of been, this is one I've always kind of gravitated to. And I love oddball albums. I love oddball movies, and I love oddball albums. And this is
and
usually
you like oddball people, and that's why you have me on here.
And that's usually the reason how I get into bands. If I like their oddball albums, ones that are perceived to be maybe their worst albums, then I get into the rest of the band. And this album was one of the first ones when I was getting into it. I kind of listened to a lot, and it kind of really didn't grab me at first, but the more I went along, I have got into this album. I think
wow, I kind of respect that.
I can kind of call this album a flawed masterpiece in a way, because I really believe Eddie Van Halen found someone that didn't have the egos and that he could just sit down and write music for, and the guy would write lyrics and they would just, I think he had finally found someone who he could really work with as a singer that he really respected, and likewise with Gary Sharon, but it just didn't work out. And I think really between this album failing and then his cancer in the early 2000s, I think that's really what drove him to kind of start drinking again, because he recorded Balance sober, and that was the first album he had recorded sober. And I didn't really get into that, but he said that he actually liked the results of Balance recording it sober and stuff like that. But going through the track listing here, New World, the little intro, I think it's totally fine. It's a little piano and guitar intro. I think it's totally fine. Without You, I like it. I'm kind of a little bit burnt out on it. I've heard it a whole lot, but I still really like it. I think this whole album goes over a lot better live. I think they fleshed these songs out a lot better live than in the studio.
And that's what Gary said about these songs. They worked them out. Yeah. They rushed this album, he said. They wanted to get out on tour. So.
And What I Want, I think, is great too. It's a kind of to me a throwback. And Lee, you actually sent me a playlist with a kind of a context on this album and stuff that you compared a lot of the.
Did I? Was this recent or long ago?
This was a long time ago, and my phone just cut in.
Okay, I maybe remember that, but I don't have the playlist now. But the interesting thing is, if you, let's say, still have the link to the playlist, if you scroll back, the playlist still will show up even if I delete a playlist on Spotify.
Mm-hmm.
For
I still
some
have.
reason, yeah, for some reason, even if I delete the playlist, if I find an old link with that playlist, the playlist will still come up. The playlist doesn't ever actually disappear.
Yeah.
So I'd be interested if you found it and you were able to send it to me again. I'd be very interested in knowing what I did, because I must have had a point, but I forget what that point was now.
Okay, I'll send it to you when we get done here.
Okay, right on.
All right. Well, getting back to what I was talking about, One I Want it sounds like not Little Dreamer, kind of a cross between Little Dreamer and Little Guitars in a way. And then From Afar, I really enjoy this song. It has a weird vibe to it, but I think if David Lee Roth was singing on this particular track, it could have been maybe one of the best Van Halen songs of all time. I really think that this one, I think Gary Strome's lyric, the way he writes lyrics is cool, and I think his voice is really good as well. But I think if David Lee Roth would have written something with this music, I think it would have been very interesting. Dirty Water Dog had kind of been around since 5150. It was originally going to be a track on that album called I Want Action. Then it became this instrumental he actually performed on Saturday Night Live called Stompin'. And then Steve Lukather did a version of this song with different lyrics. He used the riff for a song, I believe it's called Cuts Like a Knife or Slip of the Knife or something like that. And then it eventually got put on a Van Halen album as this song. Probably my favorite song on the album is Dirty Water Dog. Once, fantastic, great track. I think it's awesome. Once, it's kind of a cross between the 90s, like Division Bell era Pink Floyd crossed with like late 80s or like mid 80s to late 80s Genesis, or either the Ray Wilson era Genesis. It's kind of a cross between those two. Fire in the Hole, kind of a straightforward rocker. It was featured in the Lethal Weapon 4 soundtrack. A video was made for this track and Without You, actually. Josephina is a cool little ballad. I listened to like almost all of this album prior to recording here today. Josephina's cool. Year to the Day is very good. I love it. I think it's a great track. Primary is really cool. Ballad of the Bullet's really good hard rocking track. And for the extreme weirdness of the song, I like How Many Say I. Well, it's
I'm gonna be a Lee and go, no. How could you like Eddie Van Halen's vocals? It's horrible. Okay.
I'm with you there, Mark.
Okay.
It's kind of a weird, it's very, very weird, but I kind of like it for the pure weirdness of it. And just kind of because Eddie Van Halen's singing on it. That's the reason I like it. Because
I would say that.
Yeah, could you tell that he's really good? That he doesn't need Michael Anthony helping him in background vocals.
I think that it's noble that he's trying. That's all I'll say.
Mm-hmm.
But 3 singles were released off the album: Without You, One I Want, and Fire in the Hole. And there's also an outtake that was taken off the album. For what I understand, this album was delayed because Josephina was to be put on the album. Originally, there was a song called "That's Why I Love You" that you find it on YouTube. It was originally going to be on here, but was
Really?
taken off last minute.
That was
And
a
I
good
mean,
You
song.
know more than I do.
I've heard that
You know
and
song.
more
it's
than I do. I didn't know about that. You know more.
yeah, it's a pretty good song. A lot of people I've heard on different podcasts say that a lot of people seem like that could have been the one that really saved this version of the band. I just think that the fans were ticked off about Roth not coming back. That people felt that if Hagar was out, Roth should have come back, and when that didn't happen, and I think a lot of fans felt ripped off. And plus, it was 1998; it wasn't the mid '90s anymore, and I just think this album never really found its audience, and plus it being rushed out and kind of having this weird tint to it, and the production kind of being a little bit flat. Even though the production's fine for me on the album, it is dull and kind of flat. I just think that's a lot of the reasons it failed. So, Lee, what's your thoughts on Van Halen 3?
This is going to sound kind of shocking, but I think Gary Sharon's voice was the best singer in Van Halen. But now we're going to get into the songs. I think that Eddie Van Halen wrote a bunch of songs that no singer could save. I think that there are some songs that if you were to view them not as Van Halen songs, but as another group, like maybe some sort of like Bad Stone Garden album, or maybe an album like I'm not sure, but like some weird sort of heavy rock Alan Parsons album, it could work. Some of the songs are okay, but I would say if I'm listening to this album and I'm listening to all the songs in a row, I'm going to start feeling like I'm in the hot desert and I need water because I'm slowly drying out. It's a long album and a lot of the songs drag on. And so, is it their worst album? The answer is yes, it is. But it's not because of Gary Sharon. I think that if they had better songs, it could have been maybe one of their best albums. But to say that I don't like any of it would also be a lie. It's just that one song at a time is best. I would say I can't really decide what's the best song and a worst song. The only thing I can say is how many say I never need to hear that again. I think that that's probably um, worse than any Bon Jovi song ever in the history of Bon Jovi. And Mark, shut up. Anyway, um, but but I would say Once actually is a good song, but it's good if like a group like the Corrs did it, like an Irish group like the Corrs. I would be cool with it. So there are songs that are good, but overall, it's their worst album, but with their best vocalist.
Okay. And I just wanted to say real quick that was one thing you was talking about. You think that Eddie wrote a lot of songs that just no singer could sing. That's kind of how I feel a little bit with Sammy. I think Sammy
Oh,
times got he they. I think Eddie at times wrote some songs that made Sammy stretch his vocals kind of for the
yeah,
pure heck of it. Because
yeah,
I really think, I mean, I'm one of them. I love the first two Montrose albums. I think Sammy
yeah,
Hagar, he's a really good singer, but I think sometimes he stretches his vocals a little bit too far, especially during some of the concerts. But I'm not like
yeah.
I'm not dissing him or anything like that. I'm just that's kind of how I feel about some of it. But
Yeah,
I'm
I'm
not
thinking
taking
that
away from
maybe
any of the opinions that
Eddie
I've
might have
already
been,
stated.
yeah, maybe Eddie might have been the one who was trying to sabotage things. I have no idea.
But Mark, what's your thoughts on Van Halen 3?
I love the album. I just don't like how many say I, but I love Fire in the Hole. I love Dirty Water Dog, When I Want, Without You. When this album came out, I have to be honest with you, I was looking forward to it because I love Extreme and I love Gary Sharon. Had all the Extreme albums. I love his voice. Even Bittencourt said, "Hey, I'm for my brother to do this with Van Halen. It's a dream of his." It was really cool reading all the guitar magazines about this coming out. I was looking forward to it. And then I bought it, put it in the CD player in the car, listened to it once. I go, this fucking sucks. Took it out, didn't listen to it for 10 years, broke it back out and go, wait, this album is pretty damn good. But I tell you, I hated it when it first came out for 10 years. I didn't listen to it. I was done. After 2 listens, I was like, fuck this shit. I can't take it. I liked like Without You or Ballad of the Bullet back then, but and I said, this album fucking sucks. I heard Eddie sing and I go, I'm done. But looking back at it, it did go gold. It didn't go platinum like all the other ones, but it's a good album.
Okay. And I was also going to go back to the track Year to the Day. That's when I actually couldn't get into the album. That was one of the songs that I was like, man, this is actually really cool because it's kind of like this weird Zeppelin-esque epic. And I really look. I'm going to change my favorite track on the album to probably Year to the Day. And I was talking about before we recorded, I made the mix and all of the Van Halen deep cuts, and I put that in there, and that came on. And I mean, it's a long song, but it really kind of plays on through and pretty quickly. Have you seen the concert from the Van Halen 3 tour, the Australia '98 show?
Yeah, I've seen a lot of the tour. It was really good. He did a
And
lot of Sammy and David songs, so it was awesome.
oh yeah, he brought out a lot
I've
of
heard
stuff
a
like
little
I'm
bit
the
of.
One
I've heard
and
a
all
little
kinds
bit of that stuff.
And then there was also the Aborted live album.
Yeah, that's been
That
recorded. I think it was Philadelphia,
it was
somewhere,
it
Pennsylvania or
was
something.
recorded at Hershey Park, Pennsylvania, but it's been said that it was recorded in Pittsburgh, but they're wrong.
Yeah, it's Pennsylvania.
And it was supposed to be released as a Japan only live album, but I think that by that point this lineup just didn't work out, so they just shelved it. It's out there on YouTube, you can hear it, but it's very good. I mean, it's a soundboard. You can tell that it was from a radio broadcast is actually what it was from, I believe. So that's very interesting.
Yeah.
So, and there's also the Aborted second album, which has been, there's this book that I want to pick up. It's called like The Greatest Albums You'll Never Hear by Famous Rock Bands or something like that. And there's a bunch of different titles that's thrown around in there, and actually an album cover, and they called it the second album with Sharon Van Halen 4, and they had like a repurposed logo and everything. But I kind of think that's something someone made up.
Yeah,
But
I heard that they had only done a few demos.
that's pretty much what it was. There's a couple that's made it to some Gary Sharon solo stuff like Rock and Roll Cliches 1.
Oh,
And
I
there's
didn't know.
one that's on a song on an album by Tribe of Judah that's
I have all
just
those albums.
Yeah.
I think it's basically the lyrics, but the music's changed around. So that didn't happen. And I've also heard that around this point also that they reunited and was David Lee Roth reunited with the group, and they were trying to work out something with.
Well, Rock and Roll Cliche was on Hurt Smile with his brother.
Yeah. But then we moved to the year 2004.
Did you put your recorder back on? Sorry.
What is it?
No, I'm saying, did you put your recorder back on?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
I never did pause it that last time.
Oh, okay. I'm talking in my mind. Lee, did you put your recorder back on? No, I'm not sure. Why don't we blame Devin and we go on?
So the Best of Both Worlds 2-disc compilation. I don't own this, but I need to pick it up at some point. 3 brand new songs. It's About Time, Up for Breakfast, and Learning to See. I've never heard Learning to See. I like It's About Time. Up for Breakfast is kind of so bad it's good for me. I can enjoy it. It's kind of I can hang with it, but it's kind of so bad it's good. Basically, it's originally going to be one disc, the best of the David Lee Roth era, and the second disc was going to be the best of the Sammy era, but it didn't happen. They eventually just put a mishmash of different stuff. And then they went on tour, and basically this lineup of the band fell apart due basically to Eddie Van Halen's alcoholism. And then we'll get to the final couple of albums and kind of maybe even talk about what may be the future for the band afterwards. So, Mark, what's your thoughts on the 3 new tracks for the Best of Both Worlds and the compilation overall?
I liked them. I thought the compilation was kind of horrible, but that wasn't supposed to be a compilation album. They were actually in the studio to make a brand new record to celebrate them getting back together. But
Yeah.
Sammy says, I couldn't handle freaking Eddie was all over the place. He wasn't doing this. So I could only churn out 3 songs. I said, that's all I could do, man. I can't do anymore. So then they decided to do the Greatest Hits album, put those on there.
Yeah. All right, Lee, what's your thoughts? Have you heard the 3 tracks?
I actually heard It's About Time. I thought that it sounded a little bit like Power to the Music from Motley Crue. I thought that it had the same vibe and it had the same sort of Scott Weiland, Stone Temple Pilots sound too. I tried hearing Up for Breakfast. I said, I'm kind of sick of Van Halen right now. I don't want to throw up. I don't want to keep hearing it. It sounded interesting, but I only heard It's About Time, and then I heard some of Up for Breakfast, and I didn't hear whatever the 3rd track was. Okay. And I don't know what I think about the whole compilation, but mostly compilations are just compilations. They're fine for what they are. There's room for improvement, but it's all a matter of taste. I don't know how great it was, but I think that at least they had a few new songs.
Yeah. And I think at least the 2 tracks I really know, I think Up for Breakfast it's Van Halen with Hagar. It's About Time kind of reminds me a lot of like the more current solo Sammy Hagar, and then kind of also reminds me of Stone Temple Pilots a lot, and Velvet Revolver mainly. But they go out on tour, and I've watched a show from that tour. The one show I watched wasn't too terribly bad, and then I listened to another one. And it was a show, and it had a soundboard recording played over it, and they basically synced it together, and it was pretty bad. Eddie, wow. I put it this way: Eddie could still play, but he was not playing any of his solos the way they were supposed to be played. He was playing a lot of different stuff. And it was very, very weird because it sounded like there was somebody like just someone who wasn't in that kind of genre trying to play Van Halen stuff. And it was weird. So, but I've heard that it got even worse as the tour went along, and it just got to the point, like I've seen one of them like a solo, like he did Eruption, and it was like basically he was just picking the guitar pretty much, and that was it. Just making sound effects. So it was pretty bad.
That sounds pretty bad.
Yeah.
I saw a show in Anaheim, and they were really good that night. So I was
really good. I've heard that some nights they were good and some nights they were bad. I saw the concert I saw was East Rutherford. It was an audience shot recording from the there's another for the podcast. It was shot from the house videos or whatever you want to call it, the house feed, and it was actually it was a pretty cool show. They had actually changed the set list up that night and actually started the show, I believe, with "You Really Got Me," and then they played some different songs that night because like I think they usually started the shows with actually "Jump," and they had actually changed the show up, and it was a pretty good show. They had some obvious mess ups, but it was pretty good. And then, of course, this is the last time Michael Anthony was involved with anything because basically by this point they didn't want him in the band. He had to sign away his rights to even be on this tour because Sammy actually he declined to tour and stuff and reunite unless Michael Anthony was involved. Which I mean, I like that he had always kind of stuck up, was kind of a wingman for Michael Anthony. And I totally respect whatever Michael Anthony wants to do. I wish he was back in Van Halen and they were out touring, which of course they can't tour with the pandemic. But I wish they would have he would come back and they do a big reunion tour with all four original members, or maybe even the best of both worlds with David and Sammy coming out and doing a set or whatever.
That's what Sammy wants.
Yeah. But 2000, I believe they officially reunited in 06, but they didn't tour until 07. But eventually they tour and it becomes a real big success, and they put out A Different Kind of Truth. 2012, the first Van Halen album since Van Halen 3, the first studio material since the Best of Both Worlds compilation. The first with Wolfgang Van Halen on bass and backing vocals, and the first with Diamond David Lee Roth since the two studio recordings on the Best of Volume 1 and the first full-length studio album with him since '84. I love this album. I've always loved this album. Well, I take that back. The first time I actually heard this album, I was kind of with it, but the more I've listened to it since, I love this album. This is Van Halen. This is a perfect comeback, perfect reunion album. Even though it's not technically the original band, I still view it. It's a reunion album between David Lee Roth and the two Van Halens, three Van Halens technically. But I love it. A lot of people criticize it because they say, "Oh, they just took old demos and just polished them up, rewrote some lyrics, and done some different stuff, and then put them out. They didn't have any new ideas." I totally disagree. I think they work for what it is, even though a lot of them are recycled songs, just kind of revamped. But I love it. Tattoo, a lot of people criticize. I love Tattoo. You and Your Blues is great. She's the Woman is great. I got my track listing mixed up. She's the Woman's amazing. Chinatown's awesome. Blood and Fire is great. Bullet Head's fantastic. A little bit too short. Wish it was a little bit longer. As is awesome. Honey Baby Sweetie Doll is great. The Trouble with the Never's awesome. Out of Space is awesome. Stay Frosty, fantastic, and a great homage to Ice Cream Man back from the first album. Big River's awesome. Beach Working is awesome as well. Then you've got the DVD with the acoustic songs on there, which is pretty cool. I've watched part of that before. But overall, I think it's a great album. And if this is the final album by Van Halen, a great way to go out. So, or final studio album. So, Lee, what's your thoughts on A Different Kind of Truth?
A Different Kind of Truth, I thought it was okay, except I kind of thought that maybe it wasn't as great as it could have been. But for a group like that, it was better than it could have been. So it was better and not as better as it could have been.
All right. Well, Tattoo was the first single. I heard it. I bought it on iTunes. She's the Woman. A lot of these songs were taken from their old, revamped and redone. They were old songs, and I remember Sammy getting on them, but they did that when Sammy was in the band, so he could shut the fuck up on that. A great song, Chinatown, Blood and Fire, Bullet Head As Is my favorite, along with Stay Frosty, Big River, beats working. This is a great comeback album, and if they never do another album again, this is awesome. But I'd like them to do another album with David and Michael back in the band, but I don't think that'll ever happen. And there was a rumor that they were going to do it, but Eddie got sick. They were going to go on tour with Michael. And Michael got contacted by their management and said, hey, would you be up for that? And he goes, yeah, okay, we'll get back to you with the details. And nothing ever happened. But I think it's because Eddie got sick again.
Okay. And my favorite track on that album, I didn't even talk about it. My favorite track's probably You and Your Blues. That's a great track.
That's a good one. I just love As Is. I like the way he freaking does his little growl and shit.
That's great, too.
And his Davidisms in there. I love it.
We moved to the final Van Halen record to date. Van Halen Live Tokyo Dome in concert. I believe this was released 2015. I've done a mini review on my own channel. Well, this channel, The Danger Zone Reviews. Very early on when I first started doing reviews again. I wasn't completely happy with it, but I think I've done a good enough job for it being a live record and me being by myself on that. I've always really enjoyed it. The first time I heard, well, once again, I take it back. At first, I was kind of like, this is kind of missing something, because I expected Diamond Dave to come out screaming like he used to, and then I heard it, I was kind of like, whoa, what is this? But the more I've heard it, I love it. I think it's a great live album. There is a lot of, I was listening back to hear about it later, and there is some missed cues on this album. I mean, it's not a perfect live album by any means, but I still think it's a very good representation. It was finally a live album with David Lee Roth. So that's my thoughts. Great live album, start to finish. Great. I mean, I'm glad they put some different kind of Truth songs on there, which was recorded during that time. So you get a bunch of live versions of those tracks. And this was actually a return to Warner Brothers Records after you had a different kind of Truth on Interscope Records. But Mark, what is your thoughts on live concert Tokyo Dome, whatever it's called?
I think it had balls to put out an unedited album like that. David in his rawness, what you see him live. And I like it. I have it on a 2 CD set. It's really good. I think they need to get more creative with the album cover, because that ship was used on some other like funk band in the 70s album cover. And so was a different kind of Truth kind of. So they were kind of stealing album covers, and since Van Halen 3 was like an old photo of a guy getting hit. No, they lost their artistic creativity with album covers. I didn't cover that, but last 3 album covers were kind of ripped off. But this is a great live album. Some cringeworthy moments with David's voice going, but it's really good. I like it.
Okay.
Yeah. The live album I didn't hear.
We can find the Freeform Rock Podcast. Just tell us where we can find the podcast at, Mark or Lee, whatever.
Everywhere you can find a podcast. Our mothership is Podbean, but most of our listens come from Apple Podcast or iTunes. Check us out there. There's also Stitcher. There's all these podcast places. You could Google it to listen to episodes also. We're everywhere, man. Tell a friend and come join our Facebook pages. We rock and we rule, and we're weird.
Yeah.
And that's the way we like it. Okay.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So you can find me. Got the Danger Zone Reviews on my personal YouTube channel. I've got this podcast here. You can find us on my channel. It's just Devin Dungan. It's my YouTube channel. Then we've also got episode 1 on Anchor.fm. That's where you can find the Dunnigan Mott Music Movie Podcast at. Predominantly, it's on the YouTube page, the Dunnigan Mott Music Movie Podcast. And then we've also got we've got the Dunnigan Mott Podcasting Network, which is on Anchor.fm. And I've got all these different my reviews off my YouTube channel, our reviews, mine and Steven's, as well as these that we're doing here. So go check that out. Go check the Freeform Rock Podcast out. Y'all got a new episode coming out tomorrow, right?
Yeah, we're doing the End Machine, Dockin' Without Dawn album.
Okay, so be looking forward to that. This will probably be out after that. So, but that's been episode 3 of the Danger Zone podcast. I've enjoyed it. I hope you guys have enjoyed it too. It's been a long one, a lot longer than I thought it was going to turn out. So,
I had a good nap. Thank you. I'm good.
Now he's got to go have some vodka to wake up.
I'm going to.
Yeah,
So
I'm done. I had my 2 drinks for the day. I'm good.
Okay. So, any last words, you guys?
I would say I think that Van Halen is good as far as they don't necessarily need to come out with anything more. But if they do, I'll be willing to listen to it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I just go listen to your podcast, listen to our podcast. Also listen to the Lee Gershman show on Spreaker. And wherever you get podcasts, he's on there. Listen to him. He had a new episode with Dr. Fuck doing some Nico bitch that I don't care about. So go for it. Listen to it.
Okay. And today, the Dunnigan Mott Music and Movie Podcast, we just put out a brand new episode where we covered 1985's Done with Mirrors by Aerosmith. So
nice.
That's out there. And then if Steven's still up to it by this point, it's done got late in the day. If he's still up to it, we'll do our episode on Stevie Ray Vaughan's The Sky is Crying. So
cool.
Look,
well, have fun, man. I got to eat. I'm starving.
Yeah, I'm starving too. So thank you guys for being on here.
All right.
For the audience out there, like, comment, subscribe. Tell us what you think of these podcasts. Go support each and every one of these podcasts we've talked about here today. Thank you all for watching, listening. Stay healthy. Stay free. Stay frosty. And God bless you, each and every one of you. And if you don't know, just go check out all these podcasts.
If you don't know a podcast, just listen to it. Even if it's on ceramic bowls or jewelry making. I'm kidding.
All right.
So this has been episode 3. God bless you all. Thanks for watching. Thanks for watching or listening. And as I always say at the end of every episode I do, see you next time.